Hey, everybody, welcome back to the Love How Deep podcast. And today we are going to be talking about grief in marriage. It's going to be it's a tough topic, but I think it's one that's a little bit more common than I think lots of people would know. And we're really excited to have a guest on to talk about this, and that is Heidi Vegh. And Heidi, we want to welcome you to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so good to have you here. And I know obviously this is a story that's very personal to you, and we're going to get into those details
Mhm.
about that in just a second. But really, I think before we start, just wanted to know a little bit more about you, maybe personally, professionally, whatever you'd like people to know to kick us off.
Okay. I live in Gig Harbor, Washington. I've been married for almost 11 years. We're in a blended family. I have my son Jonah, who's 19, Isaac is 17, my stepson Harlow is 14,
Mm.
and my daughter is 8, my daughter Emmy. I'm a writer. I have a degree in creative writing and English, and I have a Substack and I write for crosswalk.com. Writing is just my way of telling my story, and I've gained a lot of healing in my writing. So that is a passion of mine.
Good. That's good.
That's
I want to
great.
know how in the world you do all that with four kids, especially at
I
the age.
don't know either. And I'm also another thing to add to the list. I'm a ministry director at my church. So I love serving and planning and doing all those things. But I think my kids are older now, so it's a lot easier. Everyone's in school. I find the time. But there was a time when I was getting my degree when all of my kids were home, especially during COVID. I'm not sure the strength of the Lord. That's
Mm.
why how I did all of that. So
That's good. And yeah, and it is quiet there. But again, I guess you said they're all pretty much off at school right now. Is that,
yeah, I just dropped my oldest son at college last week. So
yeah.
also dealing with that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah,
That's a lot of emotions too. Huh.
it is.
Your babies fly the coops.
Yeah, it's coming, but when it does happen, it's like I'm almost in shock or something still. It's interesting.
Right.
Yeah, one thing we do have in common with you is we're a blended family as well. We didn't go through the loss that you went through, that again, we'll talk about in just a minute. Ours was through, I guess it is a loss, really, is divorce that we both through.
Absolutely.
And then I have a daughter from my previous marriage that we spent a lot of time raising together. We can probably relate to a lot of the struggles and difficulties on that end, which I know you'll talk a little bit about that too,
Yeah.
after we talk about the initial story that we're going to jump into. So I guess, yeah, with that, if you want, Heidi, do you mind taking us back to maybe 2013, or if the story kind of goes back before that, uh,
Sure.
as to what happened?
So I married my high school sweetheart. We were 20 years old. When we were 26, we started having babies. We had Jonah and Isaac. Great little life. He was a technology director. He was very smart, very successful. He did suffer from Crohn's disease all of those years. So that was something that was really challenging. And in 2012, took a turn for the worse. And he was diagnosed with cancer in January of 2013.
Oh,
When
wow.
we found out about the cancer, it had already metastasized to 3 places, and was the prognosis was really terrible. So we went through chemo, a couple of rounds of chemo, and ended up in Houston, Texas for a little while, hoping to find a miracle cure. Didn't work. Unfortunately, in July of 2013, he ended up back in the ER, removing his colon, all of these things, and realizing that the cancer had continued to spread.
Mm,
So I got the call that you hear, there's nothing more we can do.
mm,
So after that, he went home on hospice and he passed away on September 7th, 2013.
mm,
So I just passed the 12-year mark, which is unbelievable to me.
Wow.
After that, I was left with these two boys, and thankfully, Benji's faith had grown a lot during the time that he was sick. And that is what boosted me into widowhood, as he was, of course, didn't want to leave, but he was hopeful that God had something new for me and my boys, and gave me a lot of release into my life, free to love again, free to get remarried, have more kids. So I walked into widowhood knowing, okay, God has a plan for me. Although at the time it was incredibly traumatic and devastating, I still was able to cling to that hope that there was something for me on the other side. So, of course, I dealt with a lot of anxiety, panic attacks, depression, was leaning on drinking for a while to numb all that pain, which was not like me at all. I was never that type of person until then. Came out of that a little bit later, realized that's not how I want to heal. I need to lean on Jesus to heal. And shortly after that, about 6 months after Benji passed, I met my now husband, David. And it's actually an incredible story because he actually went to high school with us. So he had known Benji, we had a lot of the same friends. He had just recently been divorced. So was going through that. He'd only been married a couple years, had a son at the time he was 2 years old. So we just came together with these three boys and just immediately felt like a family.
Okay.
And much to the dismay of a lot of people, we received a lot of judgment. It's too soon. You shouldn't be with a divorced man. Like all the opinions of all the people, which honestly, I say losing Benji was so hard, but trying to rebuild my life while everybody had their own opinions and judgment about how I was moving forward was almost just as hard
Yeah.
because nobody understood my pain. Nobody understood what I was going through. And nobody understood the conversations that Benji and I had behind closed doors about him releasing me to build a new life. There was a point in our dating relationship where we had to take a step back and really evaluate what was happening because we were both lonely. We both wanted to be married again, and we didn't want to jump into something that could be disastrous. So we had to step back a little bit and really trust God and follow his leading in it to make sure we were doing it for the right reasons because it was really quick. I didn't expect to fall in love within the first year of losing him. And he was on the same page. He'd just gotten divorced, was just getting used to being single again. And then he met me. And we did end up getting married about a year later. So we'd been dating about 11 months when we did get married, which was it was beautiful. Even though there was a lot of people that weren't really supporting us, friends and people surrounding us, both of our families were really supportive. So we had a very small wedding, just our parents and our siblings. It was beautiful. After that, we started jumping into the blended family life, and it was hard. It's hard to be a step parent. You don't have this biological connection like you do with your own children, so you tend to be a little harder on them or not as gracious. And so we can see that coming from both sides. And a couple months after we got married, David's ex-wife, Kelsey, moved to Gig Harbor, Washington. We were currently living in Salt Lake City. That's where I was born and raised. That's where we met. That's where we went to high school. And so about a year later, we felt God pull us to Washington, which was another really big challenge. I know when you read about the most stressful things that can happen to people, it's death and moving to a different state or high on the list and divorce. So we had gone through all three of these things in a really short amount of time, but we were just really prayerful the whole time and really trying hard not to allow ourselves to make decisions based on what other people were saying or trying to lead us to. We really had to focus in on what God wanted for us. And it was really hard because there was a lot of noise and a lot of negativity surrounding all of that, but we did it anyway. I resisted moving for a while until it just got too hard being separated from my stepson, and he was so little at the time. And so there was one night where we were praying about it, and I felt God just took it all away from me. And I was able to release that and say, okay, I'll move away from everything I've ever known. I'll move my kids away from their family, the people they need so desperately. But Lord, I'm just going to trust you that you have a place for us in Washington and you have a life for us there. And we really did sense that we needed a fresh start just because being Heidi, the widow, and her new husband, David, didn't fit right. It was like, I want us to have our own life. So we did end up moving to Washington about 6 months later in July of 2016. And we lived here ever since. We live in the same house. We have an incredible community. We have an incredible church. Our boys are now growing up. Jonah just left for college, which is amazing. Isaac is a senior. Carla's in middle school. And then right after we moved here, shortly after I found out I was pregnant with my daughter. So I always call her my gift from loss because before Benji passed, he had told me he wanted me to have a daughter because I always wanted to have a girl. He had two boys. So when I had Emmy, it was just such a gift. And she is just the light of my life. And she looks just like me. So she's just my little person. And I'm so thankful for her. My story and what I want to share with people is that God is still good, even when life is really hard. And if you trust him and you work through and you just continue living and taking those steps of faith, he will absolutely bring redemption and new life. And he promises to work things all together for his good. And I've seen that in my life. And so it's like I wrote my story the entire time he was sick and passing, and through this entire journey, I blogged the entire thing. So I have it all on record. And so everybody would always tell me, you need to write a book one day. And now here I am 12 years later. I just released my book. It's called A Heart Journey to the Good. And it's a story, and it ends about at the 10-year mark. So it's 10 years of loss, 10 years, a decade of hardship, and what God did in all of that. So that's the gist of my story.
Wow. It's like a whirlwind.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing all that. I guess I wanted to go back just for a minute back to when all this happened. Did you, I don't know what the question I'm trying to ask here is. I guess the big question I have is how did you deal with your two kids? Not only were you grieving, but you had to pick yourself up and try to keep going for them and difficult.
Oh, absolutely. And I think, though, having kids in that situation is what kept me going. I had to get up in the morning. I had to get them ready for school. I had to play with them. I had to continue to live for them. And it's difficult. Even today, 12 years later, I worry about their well-being in terms of grief and how they've dealt with it. Isaac was 5, and so he doesn't really have a lot of memories of his dad, and it's really hard for him.
Yeah.
Jonah, just a little bit older, 18 months older, just has a little bit more. He was a little bit more mature. And so he's able to wrap his head around it a little bit more. And Isaac, he doesn't feel like he has a lot of closure. He's my kid that doesn't, neither of my boys really talk a lot about their feelings. Isaac, especially, just is fine. So even now, I'm like, we're still dealing with it. 12 years later, we're still processing loss and trying to bring it up in certain situations. It's today's dad's birthday or today's the anniversary of his death. How are you feeling? And we've really, one thing about David is that he's really allowed me to keep Angie alive in terms of talking about him. And we have a picture on the refrigerator of him and just like including him in all the things. And he's just been so gracious about that. So I think that's really helped my boys be able to be open about their dad and be able to talk about him is a huge gift, because I know a lot of widows, unfortunately marry somebody that's not okay with that. And David, I know it's hard for him, and he's struggled with jealousy or negative emotions about it, but he's been able to push through and know that by him accepting that part of my life, it's what's been able to make our marriage stable and our family stable. And so it's not easy, though. It's really hard.
Yeah, and I was thinking too, with you being widowed and your husband being divorced, you have different ideas and thoughts about losing a spouse and different emotions probably that come up with it. When you lose
Yes.
someone to passing, there's probably a lot of sadness and hurt. Not that there's not with a divorce, but there's probably
Yeah.
anger that comes along with divorce. Although I guess there could be anger too with
Anger there.
maybe there could be,
Why
yeah.
did you leave me?
Yeah.
In that way.
Yeah, there was a period of time where in the beginning, when he was really angry and he had a lot of negative emotions towards her. And that was really hard for me to see him tangled up in emotion in relation to her, even if it was negative. It was like, I don't want you feeling anything for her, good or bad. So we had to work through that. And one thing I told him to do is to start to pray for her.
Yeah.
And
Right.
of course, it was really difficult for him, but he began praying for her. And over the years, his heart has softened a lot. And she's actually ended up being one of my best friends.
Really?
Yes.
So cool.
And she came to the Lord also a couple of years ago. She was going through her own things and texted me one day and said, "What time does church start?" And the redemption in our story is huge, and it's all because of God. And the fact that David was able to pray for her and forgive her and work through all those hard things, and me encouraging him to do that, has really brought a lot of healing in our blended family as a whole, including her and her husband and her kids. Like, we're all kind of one big happy family, which is really interesting because whenever I tell people, they just can't believe it. It's so
Right.
unheard of. And it's almost like it's not true, but it is true. We really have created a beautiful family with them. So,
Amazing.
It's really neat.
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I love how that just shows what God can do when you
Yes.
give him the hurts and the sorrows and the anger and pray for the other people and pray for forgiveness and all of that. Like what God can do with that when we take that step of faith, it's better than we could ever imagine. It's way
Absolutely.
better than we can imagine. That is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to ask, and I guess I'll ask you first, Heather. Like, you went through your divorce, you actually got angry at God. I remember that
I was
feeling like
very
he
mad at
kind of
God.
left you and wasn't coming through for you. And So I didn't know if you wanted to mention that because I was curious if Heidi, if you ever went through that anger toward God as well. But
I did. I felt like God didn't love me because he wasn't saving my marriage. I was not his favorite. He had his favorites and I wasn't it. And I gave up on God doing anything. I was very angry for a couple of years, several years, 4 or 5, I don't know.
mm,
Very angry. And yeah, it was a miracle that I even got the spiritual part of me just turned around to see
Yeah.
who he is, that no matter what happens in my life, he's going to take care of me no matter what. I have that promise from him.
Yes.
And so I don't worry about stuff that can happen a little bit, but do you know what I mean? It's too many things have happened to me in my life where I'm just like, God's going to take care of it. But that's what he brought me to. But I was very angry. It just it took a long time for me to
Yeah.
really come back to him.
I
Yeah.
didn't experience a lot of anger. I was more confused, I think, and didn't really understand what God was doing. I think with Benji's faith, the way that it was when he passed and pulled me through that, there was a beauty in his passing, which I'm really grateful for because I know a lot of people don't have that. They don't have the closure, they don't have the goodbyes, they don't have the confirmation that he's going to heaven and all of those things. So I feel really fortunate that I was able to experience it that way. And I think that's why I didn't really feel an anger with God because he pulled us. I saw him through the whole story when he was sick and then going into widowhood. I just thought, okay, he's just going to keep carrying me through. And so I know I did experience moments of anger of why me? Why this isn't fair. I would look at all my friends who had their healthy husbands in their 30s and I was alone. It was unfair to me. And I also did experience anger towards Benji, which of course he would never have chosen to go. But you make a promise to somebody to, I said, you promised me we'd do this together. We had these babies and we have this life, and you promised you would be here with me, and you're not. So there was like that kind of complicated emotion of being mad with someone that's passed and what to do with that. And also dealing with things. Our marriage wasn't perfect. And there were some things that had happened in the past that we had never dealt with, which I later had to deal with on my own without talking to him about it. So those are some really complicated things I'd had to go through. And the anger would come up and I wouldn't have anywhere to put it. And so God's carried me through all of those things. But I think one thing I tried not to do was stuff any of those emotions or try to numb them. I tried to numb them in the beginning just because I was going crazy. But later on, it was like I was determined to face all those negative emotions, anger or unforgiveness or whatever I had. I wanted to face them head on so that I could heal because I didn't want to prolong the healing. I wanted to move on with my life.
You didn't want to stay stuck in that. Like, I know that people that we deal with that have been divorced, it's like they're stuck in that anger and bitterness stage
Yeah.
and not accepting that, yes, this has happened, but you can move on. And with God,
Mhm.
it can be better. He can change
Yes.
you and grow you. And I remember telling God, I don't want to be that person. I know those people, and that's not who I
Yes.
want to be.
That's exactly how I was. Yeah.
Really, like once I came back to him and things, when I did, things actually got a lot worse for me at
Mhm.
home. But I saw how God took care of me through it, and I saw how He changed me and helped me grow. And I just continued to push forward at that time of I didn't want to be the person. I wanted to be better from this. You know,
Exactly.
it doesn't kill you, makes you stronger. It was going to make me stronger.
Yes, absolutely. That's exactly how I was. Yep.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was almost like an empowerment I remember experiencing a few months after he had passed and the numbness was wearing off and I was feeling like, okay, I can do this and I'm an independent woman now and I'm taking care of these kids. And I felt this empowerment of I can do this. Look, I've done it for the past however long, few months. It hadn't been that long, but I remember feeling that sense of with God's help, of course, I can do this and I'm going to make a life for myself. And
Were
yeah.
you
was
surrounded by people who just held you up in prayer, checking
yes,
on you, making
yes,
sure that you were coming along? Let's go.
yes.
Let's stuck. You were
Absolutely. I have my family, my incredible family, so supportive and heartbroken for me and just in it with me, and dear friends. And our church community was amazing, just really supportive. But there is a period of time, I think a lot of people that go through hard things where right when it happens, they have all the support and then slowly it just starts to go away. So that was hard. I did lose some friends, unfortunately. I think some people don't know how to handle people that are grieving. They just simply don't know how to do it and they walk away. And that's heartbreaking.
Yeah.
But the people that really, I do have those solid people, even today, are my people that I go back to Salt Lake and visit. And it's like a handful, 3 or 4 of my friends that are just have walked with me every step. So through even dating and getting remarried and how uncomfortable that made everybody feel and how awkward it was for people to see me with someone else, they stuck by me and they were there for me. And so I, of course, want to be that way for other people. And one of my friends, she recently got divorced. Her husband was one of Benji's best friends. We were a couple, we were best friends for years, and they unfortunately recently got divorced. And I went back to Salt Lake and I met her new boyfriend, which was weird for me. It's weird to see her with someone else, but I told her, she goes, thank you for being supportive. And I'm like, you did it for me, so I'm going to do it for you. So it is, I'm really thankful for those friendships that are, they're just your people.
That's
Yeah.
good. Can I ask you, I don't know if you have a good answer for this, you probably do, but when you're first going through this, what would you say are some helpful things that people said to you, and what were some not very helpful things? Because I think we all get into this place of like when somebody's had a loss like you did, we don't know what to say and we want
Yeah.
to be most
Right.
helpful, but sometimes the things we say probably aren't helpful. So I don't know. Do you have any?
Yeah. Yes. People say some things and I can't remember them all off the top of my head.
You'll be fine. You'll meet somebody or
Yeah. Or the thing that still stings is when someone says, if something happens with my boys and someone will say, he's watching.
Mm,
I'm like, is he? I don't know.
yeah,
Biblically, like, I don't know if they can see us, if they're involved, if they're watching, but it never really made me feel better because I thought, if he's watching, then I want him to be here.
yeah.
I don't want him to just know about it. I want him to be here experiencing it with me. So that never sat well with me. And I think just people, yeah, they would say he's in a better place or God must have needed another angel or something. I think any of those comments are always well intentioned,
Yes.
but don't make the person feel better, because even if you're a believer and you know your person is in heaven, you don't want them there. You
Right.
want them here with you. And I'm thankful he's there healed. That was an answer to prayer. He did heal him, not the way I wanted, but
Yeah.
I want him here. So it doesn't it provokes almost an anger with me if someone says God had something better for him. What is better for him than being here with his kids? I don't see that. So there's those complicated, yes, I know you mean well, but also if you're experiencing it, that is not helpful. So I think my biggest thing that helped me was people that would just come be with me and sit with me and not try to fix me.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
people don't need to be fixed. There's nothing wrong with them. They're just hurting. And
Okay.
so I think, and if you've never experienced it, of course you feel like you have to say something.
You
You have to
too.
do something, and you don't necessarily have to. For me, it was just my sister would come over and we would watch Friends reruns.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Fix me. She didn't try to make me feel better. She just sat with me
Right.
and did something normal with me. And that was so helpful.
I like that. I like what you said. Just did something normal with you.
Yes.
To have dinner with you at your house or pop popcorn and watch something on TV or let's go shopping
Yeah.
together. Like just do something normal. Let's go run errands, like
And
whatever
let's
it
not
is.
talk about it.
Yeah. And not talk about it.
True.
Yeah.
About something. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that. I think that's
Especially in those first few weeks and months where it's just raw and it hurts. And I was experiencing so much anxiety. I'd never experienced anxiety before. When people would talk about it, I didn't really know what they were talking about. And now I
I
definitely
do.
know. But it was just like this raw, like I was constantly crawling out of my skin. Like it was just this itchiness all the time. And so to be able to do something normal is definitely
That's good.
cool.
Yeah.
So that would be my advice for anybody that's walking like your stepmother. Just
Yeah.
be with her, just spend time with her and let her talk if she wants to talk.
Right.
But
She wants to,
feel like you have to say something.
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for saying that. Yeah. And we talked about this before we started to record, but for those of you that are watching, my father passed away about 2 weeks ago. So I'm like Heidi, as we're talking, I'm thinking through things through the lens of my stepmother. So this is personal to me. So
Yeah.
appreciate it. I'm getting a lot out of this. Just
Oh,
again,
good.
not I know you are too. Yeah, she's been with me. Heather's been with me every step of the way. And my father and stepmother live in Ohio, and we've had to go back several times. And so I've told her, you don't have to go if you don't want to. And she's, no, I'm going.
I'm
So,
there. 3 weekends in a row. This is what we did to support our family there. And we were happy to do it. It was been exhausting. We are treading,
Yes.
water, but we've done it and have made good memories in the process as
Yeah.
well. But yeah, just I know being there for Bev was what she needed.
Yeah.
She just needed us there. And
Yep. Just
it
your
was,
presence.
yeah.
and I will say for me, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but sometimes I will ask questions like, "Hey, how you doing?" But sometimes I'll follow that up with,
That's
"I
a
know
real
that's a dumb
question.
question right now, but," and I think people understand that when I follow
Yeah.
that.
Oh, I do that as well. If I have a friend that's hurting, I send that text and then I'm like, you don't have to answer that if you don't want to. I just want you to know I'm thinking about you. I think that's the point is you
Right.
want her to know you're thinking about her because when you're hurting that bad, it's helpful to know someone's at least just thinking about you. And you don't need to explain yourself or try to express all your emotions through a text message. She can just be like, thank you for, she's just appreciative that you reached out. That in itself is so powerful.
Yeah. And I was curious too, your stepson and then your daughter, do they
Mhm.
know much about obviously what happened? Are they
Yes.
okay?
Yeah, we talk about her story a lot. And Emmy, my sweet daughter, it's been interesting for her to try to figure out our family dynamic because it's not traditional, like a lot of her friends or her cousins or anything. So she out over the years, she's now 8. And so we've had a lot of conversations about she knows who Benji is, she knows he died, she knows that daddy was married to Harlow's mom. She's just trying to figure it out. I think at this point, she's pretty well figured out what her family's about, but there's been a lot of conversations about it, and we're really open about it. And she's heard me speak, telling my story. And so she's fully aware that I wrote a book about it and that she's in the book. And so it's actually really sweet because she's been a source of comfort for me. Sometimes when she knows, like the anniversary of his death or his birthday or something, she's aware these things are happening and she'll be extra sweet with me. And sometimes she's even said, Mom, I'm so sad for you that your husband died in her sweet, innocent
Right.
way.
Yeah.
Like, oh, Mom, I can't believe you went through that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. They're both very aware of all of it. So,
Good.
It's so good.
yeah.
So
So,
can you talk about, I guess, diving into a new marriage, like anything that you want to talk about with that, with step parenting, blending your families together, all of that? What would you say to people?
Keep God in the center, like
I love
100%. When we went through premarital counseling, when we were engaged, one thing the pastor said to us was pray together every night and thank God for each other every night. And we have done that for almost 11 years. Not perfectly, but it's been a habit. When we're falling asleep, we say, let's pray. And then we pray for whatever we're going through. We thank God for each other. And that's really grounded us. And not to say that there haven't been some really big challenges. I think, like I had said before, as a step parent, unfortunately, I tend to be a little bit harder on Harlow because he's not biologically my child. And David feels the same way about Joan and Isaac. It is a little bit different because Joan and Isaac don't have another father. Like he's it. He adopted them. He's it. And so that's a lot of pressure for him to be that father for them, but also not be biologically connected to them. So it's been hard and it's not been perfect. And there's been some challenges and some discord. And even now, Jonah, my oldest son, and David, there's some tension in that relationship and it's been hard. And so I'm hoping and praying over the years as Jonah matures and has spent some time away from us at college that when he comes back that their relationship can build and grow. David and Isaac are really close, which I think is hard for Jonah. David and Isaac have a lot more in common. They share the same interests. They like golfing. They like working on cars. Jonah didn't like to do any of those things. So I think there's just some interesting dynamic with each child. As far as Harlow, I've been his stepmom since he was 3, so he doesn't remember a life without me, which is it's just good. But then there's also that tension of I'm your mom, but you'll have a mom. So it's like I'm trying to. In the beginning, it was hard because I would mother him and do things for him and volunteer in his class at school, and his mom would be like, "What are you doing? Like you're taking this away from me." And I'm like, "I don't know how to not be that." So
Right.
definitely a lot to work through, but I think just keeping God in the center and having a lot of conversation about it, not trying to stuff things under the rug, or also counseling, getting a family therapist that can help you walk through things. In the beginning, we certainly did that a lot. Just how do we do this? There's no playbook for how to do this, especially in our specific situation of dealing with grief and divorce. There is a lot, there is a lot to deal with in those two things. I think just, yeah, keeping God in the center and just having that commitment, of course. We're doing this no matter what, no matter
Right.
how hard it gets, no matter how ugly it is or how complicated it is, we're doing this. And
Long haul. I like it. Like you said, keep God in the center, be
Mhm.
committed, get counseling if you need it. You probably do need it. Like just get
Absolutely. Even if you think everything's going great. And it's interesting because when we first got married, we were reading a book. I think it's called The Smart Step Family. I
Yep.
can't remember
Oh,
who the author did.
By
Maybe.
Ron Deal, I believe.
Yeah. So I think we were reading that book, and in it, it said something like it takes about 7 years for a blended family to feel complete or connected or whatever.
yeah.
And I remember we were thinking, Psh, we're good. We're not naive. We know we're already solid. And then here we are now 10 years in, and we're like, yeah, I guess 7 years was pretty significant, but like it's still really hard
Yeah.
because the kids change and grow constantly.
It's
So
constant.
it's like constantly dealing with new levels of maturity and understanding of our household. And so it's almost like an ever-going thing.
It is.
But
Sometimes I've wondered why they call it blending because when I think about blending, it's like a milkshake and everything looks the same. But it's like in a step family, you're more dealing with a salad where
Your
you
fruit
can look at it.
salad.
so true.
Yeah, you see everything.
Mixed. You
Yeah.
stuff.
It's all mixed, but you could pull certain pieces out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
But
so true.
I guess with blending your family, you don't want to pull anybody out. You want to be,
Yeah, I guess that's the goal,
I guess,
maybe
well,
goals to
It'll
be.
look like a milkshake. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. But
I
I,
don't know.
yeah.
It's complex. You can't put your finger on or what it's supposed to look like, or every
Mhm.
family's different and has different things that they're bringing into the family. It's unique for every family.
That's good. This has been an awesome conversation, and I know we're getting a little bit low on our time, but I wanted to actually ask you a little bit about the book. Do you want to tell
Okay.
our audience about your book and what
Yeah,
it? And
yeah, thank you. I had mentioned it before. It's called A Hard Journey to the Good. It released on September 10th. It was a labor of love. It took me about 3 years to write it and complete it. So it's like I had said before, it's like kind of the 10-year, when I stopped writing, pulled it all together, it had been 10 years, a decade of loss. So now that's now been a couple years ago. So there's a lot that's happened even since in the story. But yeah, it's my story on paper. Just I tell everything in great detail about what happened and the ways that God pulled us through. And also, I relate it to a lot of stories in the Bible of people that, have gone through hard things or situations that had happened where God was present with his people. And so I related a lot to that as well. So I'm hoping that people that read it will have hope and know that no matter what your loss is or what your story is or what difficulty you're going through, that God is still good. Our circumstances don't dictate whether God is good or not. And so when we can cling to that,
Mhm.
kind of is our anchor pulling us through, even when we don't understand what's going on or it's so hard and you feel like God is so far away from you. If you can just cling to his goodness and know that he's there no matter what, then, you know, you will see redemption on the other side and see the goodness that can come from it, even though it's still hard. So that's, yeah, you can get it on Amazon and Barnes and Noble. And I'm really excited about it.
That's so
Good.
good. We'll make sure
That is
we put links
exciting.
to the book
Mhm.
wherever you're listening or watching this for sure. And yeah,
You.
I was thinking, wow, 3 years to write that. I got to imagine that in the process of writing it, you definitely had different moments of thinking about things in different ways over that long period of time. So I got to imagine this is going to be extremely helpful to
Yeah, it was really healing for me.
yeah,
It forced me to process a lot
yeah,
and
sure.
sit and think about the details of what had happened and put it on paper. And a lot of healing for myself came. So I'm hoping it will for other people as well.
Yeah,
Right. I agree with
awesome.
that. That's
Awesome.
good.
And I don't know if there's any other ways that people can get in touch with you and we can.
Yeah, I have an Instagram. It's Mrs. Heidi Vegh at Mrs. Heidi Vegh, and my Substack, just
Okay.
Heidi Vegh. Yeah.
All right. We'll
Okay.
make sure we put those links in the show notes as well.
Yep.
And I suppose with that, we will go ahead and jump off of here. And thank you
Okay.
very much, Heidi, for everything,
You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
your story. And we look forward to talking to all of you in a little while. Take care.